What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Taking on the duties of a hunter main is not just about going invisible and hiding from your enemies. There are a lot of rogue elements to a hunter's presence on the battlefield, but unlike titans, who are extremely tanky, and warlocks, who have an abundance of healing capabilities at their disposal, hunters are equipped with a more unique set of skills that makes this class a master of elusiveness and marksmanship. Hunters have all the necessary tools to go at it alone, but they are also equipped with a ton of great abilities that will help support your team. So if you're looking to maximize your hunter's efficiency in activities like Onslaught or Pantheon, then you've clicked on the right video, because today we're counting down the top 7 best Hunter PvE builds and the exotics that they're built around. These powerful builds are fine-tuned to bring you and your team success, no matter what activity you're in. From boosting your survivability to enhancing your damage output, we've got some game changers lined up for you, so let's get started. Before we dig into all of these builds, I want to point out that this season's artifact heavily caters to the use of strand, stasis, and solar abilities. And no matter what class energy you're using, you should be able to find some benefits out of these mods. As an example, Flint Striker is a solar-themed mod that gives you radiance when defeating enemies with solar weapons. But this is a benefit that can be used on non-solar classes to still give you that 20% bonus in damage. With that said, the first build that we'll look at, coming in at number 7, is a stasis build that revolves around the use of the Frosties. I was really on the fence on whether to go with the Renewal Grasp or the Frosties, but I think the Frosties provides much better overall synergy and better ability regeneration. Now this is an agnostic exotic, so it will work with any subclass, but I found it to provide the most benefits when used with stasis, because you'll have rapid regeneration of all of your abilities, giving you a huge advantage in crowd control when you're able to effectively keep everything frozen. The Frosties comes with a rapid cooldown intrinsic trait, so as you're sprinting, you'll have a 100% increase to the regeneration rate of your grenade, melee, and class ability. And after you use your class ability, you'll have increased sprint speed by 6%. There's a lot of ways that you can set up your stasis subclass to build around the Frosties, but we're going for maximum crowd control. So we've got Glacier Grenades, which will help block enemies, and with Shatter Dive, we'll have a great way to attack enemies who are caught up into those glacier walls. I also like Shatter Dive because it pushes enemies away from you, reducing how much melee damage that you're going to have to take. We've got Whisper of Chains active, so we'll have increased damage resistance whenever we're near frozen enemies or crystals. And with Whisper of Fissures, we'll cause more damage when we cause enemies and crystals to shatter. We've paired the Frosties up with the Grim Harvest aspect and Whisper of Rime, so when we create shards by shattering frozen enemies or crystals, we'll get health and an overshield off of those. To double down on our rapid regeneration of abilities, we could pair the Frosties up with exotic weapons like the Monte Carlo or Traveler's Chosen, but the Verkless Curve, Cryothesia, Ager's Scepter, and Conditional Finality will be tremendous stasis exotics. Legendary stasis weapons that come with Chill Clip, Headstone, or Cold Steel will help us slow and freeze more enemies. Legendary weapons with class verbiages would also work out really well against frozen enemies, so weapons that have destabilizing rounds, incandescent, or volt shot would also be great to use. There's also a couple of really strong artifact mods this season, like Pillar of Ice, Dragon's Bite, and Hail the Storm, that will greatly improve the performance of the Frosties and this Stasis Hunter build. The next build that we're going to look at is a Strand build that focuses around the use of the Mothkeeper's exotic gauntlets. This is another multi-energy exotic that could work with any subclass, but it's strongest on Arc and Strand, and I think Strand has a bit more of an advantage, at least this season. The Mothkeeper's converts your standard grenade into a moth ball that releases 2 moths, and these will either track down enemies, damaging and blinding them, or they'll come back to us or a teammate to provide an overshield. You'll also receive a second grenade charge. So naturally, this exotic has a lot of versatility that can be used both offensively or defensively, and when used with the Strand Widow Silk aspect, we can have upwards of 3 total mothballs to use. These mothballs will trigger all the same effects as normal grenades, so they will work with armor mods like Firepower, Grenade Kickstart, or Ashes to Assets. Strand also gives us the added benefit of having woven mail, giving us a 40% damage resistance bonus, which will stack on top of the Mothkeeper's overshield. We also have severing effects, which reduces our enemy's damage output by 40%, so we can really help ourselves and our teammates stay alive under the most strenuous of engagements. With fragments like Thread of Generation, we'll be able to recharge our grenades faster, and if we add on weapons that come with Wellspring or Demolitionist, we'll be able to regenerate our grenade abilities even faster. Legendary Strand weapons with Slice would be a great idea to apply those severing effects onto enemies. I like using the Mothkeepers with exotics like the Quicksilver Storm, the Final Warning, or the Navigator so that we can extend our Strand synergy. But just like the Frosties, the Traveler's Chosen would also make a great option to help generate our Mothballs and other abilities faster, and it also comes with Osmosis, which would turn it into a Strand weapon. The Exteris has its own unique synergy with the Mothkeepers. This rapid-fire grenade launcher creates its own moths, so you'd be able to keep everything blinded while keeping you and your team loaded up with overshields. The next build that we're going to look at focuses around the Foe Tracer's exotic helmet, and this is another agnostic exotic that's built to dismantle tougher, tankier enemies. When hitting a tier 4 or higher enemy with any ability, that target becomes highlighted and you'll gain a ×4 harmonic weapon surge, giving you a massive boost in damage. Targets will be highlighted for the entire team to see, so there's nowhere that these guys can hide. The Foe Tracers will work exceptionally well with any class, but I find it works best when used with Solar or Strand. These energies have more abilities to use against enemies, allowing us to trigger that damage bonus more often. And more than that, we have a ton of artifact mods that are already boosting Solar and Strand, so it's only fitting that the Foe Tracers would have better synergy with these energies. Since the Foe Tracers are triggered by our abilities, we want to make sure we have these recharged as fast as possible. Strand fragments like Thread of Generation, Thread of Mind, and Thread of Fury will help get those abilities back faster. And with the use of Ensnaring Slam and the Whirling Maelstrom, we'll have even more abilities that we can strike our enemies with to trigger that damage bonus. When used with Solar, we have the Gunpowder Gamble, we have our almost endless supply of knives, and our grenades. And with fragments like Ember of Searing, Singeing, or Blistering, we can have our abilities back super fast, helping us take down those big yellow bar enemies a lot quicker. Since the Foe Tracer's weapon surge is harmonic, you'll need to be sure you're running multiple weapons that match your subclass. Legendary weapons that come with Osmosis or Permeability will provide some unique synergy, as those weapons will let you use multiple energy types. Since the Foe Tracers provides its own weapon surge, we don't have to invest in weapon surge armor mods, so we'll be free to equip armor mods that help create orbs and regenerate our abilities faster. Next up, we have our number 4 build, and there's a bit of a tie with this one. Hunters have the unique option of having 2 different exotics that provide one-shot supers, and both exotics are just too good for either to be left out. So we'll just label our number 4 build as the DPS boosters. This includes the Celestial Nighthawk and the Star Eater Scale. The Celestial Nighthawk turns the standard Golden Gun into an overpowered single-shot super. Defeating enemies with Golden Gun generates bonus super energy, and when it's combined with the season's artifact mods, it's really powerful. But it is also a bit of a glass cannon, because it only provides benefits with your super, which has led a lot of players into hot swapping between this exotic and others, and only using the Celestial when it comes to DPS phases. But then there's the Star Eater Scale. Once your super energy is full, each time you collect an orb, you'll gain a stacking bonus in super damage, which maxes out at a 70% bonus. This enhances any super, but it works best when used with Arc, Solar, or Strand energies. And between the 3, I think Strand honestly has the best synergy, since you get to hit your enemies a ton of times with Silk Strike. But the Gathering Storm is not a super to scoff at, because you'll be able to put up a ton of damage, and you'll also have all the benefits of Jolting, Blinding, and Speed boosts. An added benefit to running Star Eaters is that it even provides benefits when you're not using your super, as each orb you collect will grant bonus super energy. So even though the Celestial provides more damage, in the end I do feel that the Star Eater Scale is a better exotic, providing much more versatility than the Celestial Nighthawk. With either build setup, your main goal is regenerating your super quickly, so having helmet mods like Hands-On, Ashes to Assets, or Dynamo will really help out. Orb production will also be key, so having fragments that generate bonus orbs will be a great idea. It's actually never been easier to create orbs, as we now have legendary weapons that are able to come with attrition orbs, which generates an orb on sustained damage. There's also exotics like the Bad Juju that will help generate your super faster, and there's still the Traveler's Chosen, which we mentioned earlier. We dip our toes into the top 3 with our next build, and we'll be looking at the Lucky Pants. This is yet another agnostic exotic that will synergize with any subclass, and that does seem to be the theme here, but that honestly just speaks to the versatility of the Hunter class. The Lucky Pants provides the intrinsic trait called Illegal Holster, which provides a stacking bonus and damage to any kinetic or harmonic hand cannon. Along with a damage bonus, hand cannons also receive several performance enhancements, including faster aim down sights time, improved handling, and weapon stability. The damage bonus is triggered when you pull out a fully loaded hand cannon. The first shot will have a 60% increase to its damage. The second shot will have a 120% increase, and it'll continue to stack that way until the 10th shot, which will have a 600% bonus to its damage. Not only will this provide you with a huge benefit when going up against tankier enemies like champions, but when used against raid and dungeon bosses, this is an especially lethal option. The Lucky Pants will pair up with pretty much any hand cannon, but the two best are the Malfeasance and the Warden's Law, when it has 4th times the charm and Vorpal. Since the Lucky Pants doesn't require the use of any specific subclass, you'll be free to choose fragments and aspects that cater to your playstyle, but I would recommend equipping those that provide enhancements and further synergy to your hand cannon of choice. As an example, if you were using Ariana's Vow or the Sunshot, you would want to utilize Ember of Empyrean. But if you were using a Stasis subclass, you'd want to use Whisper of Rending so that you deal bonus damage against frozen targets. Thread of Isolation is a great choice when using Strand, since it applies severing effects after repeated precision hits. With all the seasonal artifact bonuses that Stasis, Strand, and Solar builds have, these are definitely the 3 best subclasses that you'll want to use with the Lucky Pants. No matter what subclass you decide on, running Marksman's Dodge will eliminate the time that you have to devote into reloading any of your hand cannons. When it comes to armor mods, weapon surge mods will continue to work with Lucky Pants, and since the Lucky Pants no longer reloads your hand cannon, having a harmonic reloading mod on your boots could come in handy. And now we move on to the number 2 best PvE Hunter build. This Void Night Stalker build revolves around the use of the Gerfalcon Hauberk, an incredible exotic that's seen its time on the shelf because of how broken it's been at times. The Orpheus Rigs and Omnioculus are both incredible exotics to run with the Void subclass, but the Gerfalcons redefines what it means to run Night Stalker. It comes with the See Me Feel Me intrinsic trait, so your Void weapons will gain volatile rounds after you come out of invisibility. Volatile rounds are able to pierce barrier shields, and volatile enemies will explode after taking additional damage. When you are invisible and perform a finisher, you'll gain a ×4 harmonic weapon surge. And if that wasn't enough, those finishers are going to apply a reserve overshield to you and everyone else on the team. These overshields will get engaged when activating class abilities. So not only are you getting an exotic that provides a massive bonus to damage, but you're also improving your teammates' survivability, as well as your own. And to go along with that bonus damage, you'll have all the void effects of weakening and suppressing your enemies, like you'll have when using Echo of Undermining, increasing the overall amount of damage that you and your team will be able to deal. There's several different ways of running the Gerfalcons, but all of them revolve around going invisible. You have the options of Vanishing Step, Trapper's Ambush, or Stylish Executioner, which will all give you different ways of becoming invisible. And then there's also the Echo of Obscurity to give you invisibility when performing finishers. There's even exotic weapons like the Heart Shadow or the Rat King, which will provide you with invisibility. Since overshields will only get you so far, we are using Devour with this Gerfalcon's build, and that will get triggered every time we collect an orb, thanks to Echo of Starvation. There's a lot of strong weapons that you can pair with the Gerfalcon. The Graviton Lance, La Monarch, Collective Obligation, or Leviathan's Breath would be what I would consider the best exotic options. Legendary weapons that have Repulsor Brace or destabilizing rounds will increase our ability to make enemies volatile while keeping us protected. And now it's time to reveal the #1 best PvE hunter build, and the exotic that we turn to is the Assassin's Cowl. And I'll be damned if this isn't another multifaceted exotic that will work on several subclasses. The Assassin's Cowl provides the ultimate solo hunter experience. Defeating enemies with charged melees or finishers grants you health restoration, and it makes you go invisible. This invisibility lasts a couple of seconds, giving you time to reposition, reload, and re-engage with your enemy. This works out so very well on an arc build, where you'll have the benefits of flow state and lethal current, consistently keeping your melee energy charged. We'll also have the benefits of Spark of Resistance, reducing incoming damage when we are surrounded, plus Spark of Feedback, giving us an increase to our melee damage. I love having throwing knives that are going to cause my enemies to scorch and ignite while making me invisible, so the Assassin's Cowl will certainly be a fun and powerful exotic to use with Solar. But it's actually Strand that I find has the most to offer when using the Assassin's Cowl. We'll have Woven Mail to go along with invisibility, but we'll also have our Threaded Spike, 2 grapple melee charges, and an Ensnaring Slam that will trigger Assassin's Cowl. The grapple melee in particular is the most enticing ability, as it deals a ton of area damage. It causes enemies to become unraveled, and with Widow's Silk we'll have 2 charges. We can use Thread of Generation, Thread of Fury, and Thread of Mind to regenerate our abilities faster, so that we can keep triggering Assassin's Cowl. But even when our abilities are not charged, we can still trigger Assassin's Cowl off of a finisher. Since grappling onto tangles fully restores our grapple energy, using exotics like Quicksilver Storm would help generate more tangles for us. The Navigator would provide us with a tangle point which we could continuously grapple to. It severs enemies, and it gives us another option of getting Woven Mail. And just to throw it out there, the Traveler's Chosen can really be a great exotic choice, especially since sidearms pierce barrier shields this season. Legendary weapons with Demolitionist, Grave Robber, or Pugilist would help regenerate our Threaded Spike and our grapple melee charges. And when it comes to our choice in armor, no matter what the subclass is, we need to equip mods that are going to improve our charged melee energy, like Momentum Transfer, Outreach, Melee Kickstart, and Invigoration. And as I've said so many different times in the video, there are a ton of artifact mods that are going to improve the performance of this and every other build. So if you're a new or returning hunter looking to optimize your abilities, try checking out one of these fantastic builds. These builds will be tremendous assets towards completing Legendary and Master Lost sectors, Grandmaster Nightfalls, dungeons, raids, and completing those 50 waves in Legendary Onslaught. I will be leaving Destiny item manager links to each of the builds down in the description below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these hunter builds, and if we left your favorite builds out of today's list. If so, be sure to let us know down in the comments. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian or a battle-hardened veteran looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's also in the description below, and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.